Good afternoon, everyone. So let's get started, okay? I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story because it's a really long one. So we're just going to do it a little at a time, okay? So I am an Aries. I was born April 7th, 1978. I'm a mom of three beautiful babies. And I am the oldest of four, the youngest of 14. My mom had four kids, and I'm the oldest she had, and then I'm the youngest my father has. Yes, he was a Rolling Stone. But with that being said, 2025, when I tell you, was the year that will go down for me as the year that not only did I awaken, but my eyes was forced open to see things that I was overlooking, didn't know, or didn't want to know. Okay. My mom came from a pretty large family. Okay. I don't get along with anybody really. None of my family. I mean, I tried throughout the years. Okay. So with that being said, for me, let's start in 2018. Okay. 2018, I was still dealing with the loss of my husband. Just had a baby boy in 2014. I was really trying to get back into the groove of things. I had been on methamphetamine, had went to treatment and graduated treatment, gave birth to my son months later. And my whole thing is that the type of man that I was always into was a man in uniform, military preferably. I had a thing for him. And I am a person who dates outside of my race. Doesn't matter to me. I just, for me, I love my kings, but it's not my cup of tea. Respect them, love them, know they're hardworking, know they're great fathers. You have a bad apple in every race, and every nationality, and every culture. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Mainly, I think the biggest problem for me is my dad. You know what I mean? So that did it for me. But the fact that I didn't know who all my siblings are, I still haven't met all of them. My grandmother passed away when she was 56 of cancer, breast cancer. That was my everything. I love that woman, and she taught me so much in the little time that we had together. 2018 seemed to be normal, I guess you could say. I was still trying to get out of the whole grief thing, but I wasn't really able to do so because my husband passed away in 2011, and not long after that, I would say maybe a year or two. Oh, you just need to get out of that. You need to do it. Being pushed. So I was in that people pleasing phase where I didn't want to disappoint anybody, and I didn't care about myself. I'm being honest. I'm not gonna lie. And that was the theme of things, I think, because for me, I ended up losing custody of my kids, which we'll get into that. But I went through some ups and some downs, and the signs were always in my face of why these things were happening, but I didn't want to see them. I ignored them. I didn't listen to my intuition. I didn't pay attention to the red flags because I had been a person who had gone through their life always being hurt by somebody, some way, somehow. And I didn't want to disappoint anybody, and I didn't want anybody to be disappointed in me. But I had never really heard anybody say that they were proud of me. Not those that really needed to say it to me, and those that I loved and should have heard tell me those things, okay? So I will be honest, I looked for my husband in everything and everyone, okay? And I still did that up until this past year, you know? Even though I knew mentally I'll never find him again, he was one of a kind, and there will be no more like him. But in my mind, after losing him in 2011, my whole world just ended. I went from being a 2-parent home to being a 1-parent home. And then I just couldn't get it together. I focused on my kids. I made sure that they had the therapy and the grief counseling and all that they needed, but they needed their mom. And I couldn't be their mom. Not the mom that they were used to, not the mom that they deserved, not the mom that they needed. Because I wasn't facing what I needed to be that parent that they needed, you know what I mean? And I remember that November 28, 2011, his cousin had gave me something in my hand and told me not to open my hand until I got home. She said I'd need it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'd never done it before. And I only did it because I wanted to be awake when he came home. Like, I was really grieving. Because in my mind, I had prepared myself a long time ago that because he was military, I would lose him in the military, you know what I mean? To some deployment somewhere. It didn't work out that way. But I was going to sit up all night and I was going to wait for him because I was going to get all in him. I was going to be all over him, but I was going to love him, you know what I mean? And he just never came home. He passed away and he's never coming back. And I grieved with my kids. I grieved by myself. I grieved with my mom. But those in my family who should have been there for me and helped me through that loss of a husband, I didn't have that. A month to the day that I had lost my husband, my aunt had lost her husband a month to a day before. And I'm named after her. And she never treated me like I was her namesake. We should have been like this. We should have been thick as thieves. We should have had a great bond, but she hated me. And the feeling grew to be mutual over the years. I wouldn't say it was hatred. I would say it was more disappointment on my end because I couldn't understand why she was so towards me. And no matter how many stories I heard about, that's just the way she's always been, even as a kid. Those were the excuses they were making up for her. But I remember going to jail the day that they came to take my kids from me because I had been on probation and you have contact with police. It's an automatic violation in the state of Iowa. So I got arrested. My mom got arrested and we're sitting in the back of the police car. And I see this Caucasian lady in this tweed suit, this tweed navy blue suit come up. I'm like, who the hell is she? With blonde hair, you know? And all of a sudden cutting across with my aunt. And I'm looking and this lady's pulling out this bag, you know, out of her briefcase, this folder rather, excuse me. And they're going over documents. And I'm seeing it, but I know it didn't register. Okay? I knew, but I didn't want to know. Okay? So I go to jail, my kids go into custody. My mom goes to jail. We do 31 and 32 days in jail. She did 31, I did 32. She was, because we were done with probation at that time. And no, this is not something that I'm proud of. I was actually on probation for disorderly conduct, and I refused to pay the $700 fee for, it's called the beaters class. And I refused to pay the $700. So I took the probation and ended up in jail less than 30 days after taking it. So did that. I had to use my aunt, who I'm named after, to come and get me out of jail. And sadly, I needed her services at one point, meaning that I had my debit card and everything was at home, my wallet, everything was at home when I went to jail. So I needed her to go get it. And then I had gotten my mail and I had a couple checks and stuff in there that I needed to have done so I could pay my fee and my mom's fee and leave jail. So I needed her assistance that one time. And she did. But it cost me a fee too. I think I had to give her like $200. Okay, so that's my family, okay? And she spun it on me. Oh, went to your house and there's this letter on there. I called the number and I talked to the people and told them where you were at and everything. And they were like, well, I was like, I don't got to vacate anything. My husband's death paid off that house. And that was a lie that she had told me. She had sold my house. I watched her sell my house and I didn't want to accept that at the time. And I remember growing up and my mom being really pissed because my social security number, my birth certificate, I never got them after birth. My mom had to apply for them a couple of times. Then she finally got them. But when she did get them, I was like 3 or 4 almost. And she would later find out that that same aunt had gotten American Express in my name. And this would be the theme throughout my life. Okay. At 18, my mom had made me power of attorney, dual power of attorney over everything. And I was supposed to take and make sure that my siblings, my mom's stuff was taken care of when she passed away. Her final arrangements were taken care of as she instructed. And then the remaining, me and my siblings were supposed to split. I didn't want shit. I would have gave it to my siblings regardless. You know what I mean? So that was it. That was what I knew what I was supposed to do because the conversations me and my mom had had. And the signing of, power of attorneys and all that good stuff. Well, my mom's always been there for me. And she was my biggest support when my husband passed away. And I ended up having to vacate my house. I lost everything. While I was in jail, her antics had gotten my house raided, my aunt's antics had gotten my home raided. They shot and killed my dog, which was a Roman Rottie. Months prior to that, they had killed my German Rot outside. In our yard, he was chained up, and someone had killed him. So it was just everything that could happen happened. I promise you. From 2011 to 2018 is a blur, but I remember the traumatic parts that occurred, And so I stayed with my mom, and from there she gave up her apartment, and she stayed with me, helped me get my house back together before losing it. From there, we went to my cousin James and my cousin Charles. First, my cousin Charles, we stayed there. And then we moved from there to my cousin James's. And then to a friend of ours named Michael Hurd. So, yeah, it was pretty difficult for me to get my shit together after losing him. And I muddled through it. I muddled through life at that time. I didn't care. I had an addiction and I was going to support it because it helped me cope. It helped me cope. My kids had never seen me. I never did it in front of them. Never did it around them. They were never dirty for anything. And during the time that I had stayed with family members and stuff, you need to get back out there. You need to start seeing. Rob wouldn't want you to do this. Don't ever let somebody tell you what your spouse that was no longer there would or wouldn't want you to do. Okay? So I went through all that, and I rushed into something, and I met and dated this guy named Dwayne, and got pregnant with my youngest, and had him in 2014. Dwayne was domestically abusive. And that didn't go well. So I have been through a lot. childhood, I had gone through being SA'd. In my teen years, I had gone through being hot in the ass, you could say. And at 16, I fell in love with a guy who I knew as Cameron Mitchell Atkinson in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I would end up getting pregnant twice by him with one surviving child. And he's my oldest son. My mom was the black sheep of the family, so I knew that if she was, I would be the one that they would choose to be the black sheep. I wouldn't know the significance of what it was really about until way later.